Hello everyone, and welcome to another video from Tribute Today. In this tribute, we'll look at American celebrities and other influential people from around the world who have passed away recently. We share their stories, celebrate their achievements, and remember the legacies they leave behind. If you appreciate keeping these memories alive, please give this video a like. Your support truly helps us honor their stories. Thank you for being with us. Let's begin.
Judy Lowe. Passed away at the age of 77, Judy Lowe was a renowned British actress celebrated for her versatility and grace in the world of stage and screen. Born in 1947 in Leicester, England, Lowe developed an early passion for performing arts and went on to study drama at the Central School of Speech and Drama. Her journey into acting began on stage, where her expressive range and natural elegance quickly caught attention. Lowe gained prominence during the 1970s, a golden era for British television. She became a familiar face through iconic shows such as Ace of Wands and General Hospital. However, her versatility ensured she wasn't limited to one genre. She transitioned effortlessly between drama, comedy, and crime thrillers. Beyond television, Judy graced the stage with memorable performances in Shakespearean productions and contemporary plays, captivating audiences with her depth and emotional authenticity. Her film appearances, though selective, were impactful, adding another dimension to her career. Away from the spotlight, Lowe was admired for her intellect and warmth. She balanced a thriving career while nurturing her family, including her daughter, actress Kate Beckinsale, who often credited Judy for inspiring her artistic ambitions. Lowe's enduring legacy lies in her commitment to quality performances and her ability to remain relevant through decades of changing trends in entertainment. Today, her name resonates with grace, strength, and timeless artistry. Joanna Jo Bacon passed away at the age of 69. Joanna Jo Bacon was a visionary British architect whose contributions to modern architecture remain groundbreaking. Born in 1955, she grew up fascinated by buildings and structures, leading her to study architecture at Cambridge University. Bacon quickly established herself as a force in a male-dominated field, bringing fresh ideas and bold aesthetics into the heart of British design. Her early work showcased a blend of functionality and elegance, redefining urban spaces. As a director at Allies and Morrison, Bacon played a key role in transformative projects across London and beyond. From educational institutions to public infrastructure, her designs reflected sustainability, innovation, and cultural sensitivity. Notable works include contributions to the London 2012 Olympic projects and significant regeneration developments in key city districts. Beyond design, Joanna was a passionate advocate for diversity in architecture, mentoring young professionals, and pushing for gender equality in the industry. Her influence extended through lectures, publications, and leadership roles in architectural bodies. Known for her meticulous attention to detail and ability to harmonize tradition with modernity, Bacon's work continues to inspire future generations of architects. Her passing marked the loss of a creative genius who shaped the skylines and communities we cherish today. Pick Sen Lim passed away at the age of 79. Pick Sen Lim was a trailblazing actress who brought authentic Asian representation to British television. Born in Malaysia in 1944, she moved to the UK to pursue acting, breaking barriers in an industry that rarely offered substantial roles for Asian performers at the time. Lim's determination and undeniable talent carved a path for others to follow. She rose to fame in the late 1970s through the hit sitcom Mind Your Language, where her portrayal of Miss Yo Lee became iconic. While the show sparked debates about stereotypes, Lim used the platform to advocate for better representation of minorities in media. Beyond sitcoms, she showcased her range in dramas, thrillers, and stage productions, proving her capabilities extended far beyond comedy. Her work wasn't limited to acting. Lim was also vocal about inclusion and equal opportunities in entertainment. She participated in cultural discussions, often highlighting the struggles and triumphs of being an Asian actress in Britain. Pick Sen Lim's legacy lies not only in her performances, but also in her courage to challenge norms, paving the way for a more diverse and inclusive media landscape. Barbara Ferris passed away at the age of 84, Barbara Ferris was one of the shining stars of 1960s British cinema. Born in London in 1940, she began her career as a model before venturing into acting, where her natural beauty and charisma made her an instant favorite among filmmakers and audiences alike. Ferris became synonymous with the swinging 60s, appearing in films that captured the vibrancy of that era. Her breakthrough role came with A Nice Girl Like Me, 1969, where her charm and nuanced performance earned critical acclaim. She also starred in Catch Us If You Can, 1965, a cult classic that solidified her place as a cinematic icon. Beyond the silver screen, Ferris graced British television, showcasing her dramatic depth in series like The Prisoner. Her versatility made her a beloved figure, equally adept at playing complex characters in lighthearted roles. Despite her fame, Barbara maintained a low-profile personal life, focusing on her craft rather than celebrity culture. She left behind a legacy of memorable performances that continue to be celebrated for their elegance and authenticity, embodying the spirit of an unforgettable era in film history. Elvie Hale passed away at the age of 83. Elvie Hale was an acclaimed British actress celebrated for her elegance and remarkable talent. Born in 1931, she rose to prominence during the mid-20th century, leaving an indelible mark on both stage and screen. Hale's early work in repertory theater honed her acting skills, leading to significant roles in classic productions. Her breakout came with British comedies and dramas, where her wit and charm won audiences over. Known for her roles in The Navy Lark and various television dramas, Hale displayed a unique ability to balance humor and sincerity, making her performances both entertaining and deeply human. Her contribution extended beyond acting. Elvie inspired countless performers through her professionalism and dedication to the craft. Though she largely stepped away from the limelight later in life, her work remains timeless. Fans and critics alike remember her as a performer who combined grace with authenticity, setting a benchmark for quality in an era defined by artistic innovation. Elvie Hale's passing marked the end of a chapter in British entertainment, but her influence endures through generations of actors who continue to draw inspiration from her artistry. Kurt Russell stands as one of cinema's rare constants, a presence who moves with the times without ever surrendering the essence that made him magnetic in the first place. A performer whose poise, grit, and good humor carry across eras, genres, and generations, with an ease that feels both intimate and monumental. Born in 1951 in Springfield, Massachusetts, raised in a family steeped in show business, he grew up not at the margins of storytelling, but inside its working heart. Among scripts and sets, lights and lenses, the honest labor of crews who build worlds so audiences can dream inside them. From early television to the disciplined charm of his Disney years, from the mythic cool of 1980s cult classics to the assured authority of later prestige turns and franchise powerhouses, Russell shaped a career that is less a straight line than a constellation. Each star a role, each role a signal of taste, resilience, and an actor's primary oath, to serve the story with truth. Even as a young performer, he learned that acting is a conversation with the camera, and the camera is a ruthless listener. To convince it, one must be unforced. He became that rare figure who could be intensely watchable without appearing to try. His movements clean, his timing exact without fuss, his voice a steady register of American cadence, wry, direct, and warm. He found the weight of pause and the pulse of a scene. He understood that charm is not decoration but the delivery system for feeling. When audiences first began to recognize him, it was not with the awe reserved for distant gods but with the affection one reserves for the trustworthy. A performer who will not waste a minute of one's attention, who can carry a story's burden without visible strain, who will look after the viewer even while daring them into stranger, darker, funnier terrain. The Disney period did more than give him visibility. It taught discipline. The tonal clarity of family entertainment, the clean line of a joke, the economy of movement, the importance of momentum, served as a rigorous school. He learned how to hold a frame, how to pivot from lightness to sincerity, without tipping, into mawkishness, how to honor the scene partner's space. That craft hardened into an instinct, and that instinct would prove essential when, in later years, he began to shoulder roles built on tension and ambiguity. The actor who understands how to place a punchline also knows how to place a silence. The actor who learns to ride the rhythm of a crowd's laughter also learns how to stand still and let dread breathe. In Russell's mature work, one can feel that education, a respect for audience time, a belief that entertainment and excellence are not enemies, the courage to let the camera come close and find truth rather than effort. With the arrival of the 1980s, something archetypal fused with something specific. Russell became, in the popular imagination, a figure of iconographic cool, yet he made that coolness personal, even humane. Collaborating with directors who understood myth and menace, he formed characters that seemed carved out of the American grain. Laconic, capable, a little bit sardonic, haunted without turning inward, fierce without abandoning humor. He could wear an eye patch and sell it as destiny, stride into a storm and persuade us that courage might be as simple as doing the next necessary thing. These were not iron men, but men of sinew and thinking, figures whose strength lay as much in decisiveness as in athleticism. And beside these legends, he kept a twinkle, an awareness that performance is a dance with the audience's appetite, and a willingness to play with expectation without breaking faith with realism. That balance between bravado and vulnerability is Russell's secret engine. He can swagger without hardening, smile without softening the stakes. When fear appears, he lets it flicker across the face. When anger arrives, he lands it as clarity rather than spectacle. He tends to the meanings inside a genre film like a gardener tends to roots. The flourish above ground is only as credible as the attention paid beneath the soil. In his hands, an action beat has narrative intent. A line of tough guy banter carries a hint of self-knowledge. A sudden burst of heroism arrives not as a miracle but as a decision taken by a man who understands the cost. Too often the screen confuses noise with electricity. Russell knows that electricity hums even in quiet. He understands that a character's competence is most satisfying when it feels earned, by history, by skill, by moral resolve. That sense of earning becomes unmistakable in roles that place him under pressure. Closed rooms, contested territories, moral quandaries in which no choice arrives clean. He is superb at playing professionals in crisis, men with responsibilities to a team or a family or a cause, who must act with limited information and high consequence. He respects procedure, not as bureaucracy, but as a ritual of survival. He respects improvisation, not as recklessness, but as the mind's alertness under fire. Watching him think is part of the pleasure, the eyes searching, a quick inhale, the shift in stance that says the decision has been made. And yet the human touch persists. Humor threaded through danger like a stitch that holds the fabric together. He knows when to let the audience breathe, when to break tension with a glance or an underplayed line, how to invite a grin without sacrificing gravity. What makes this resonance endure is not just physical credibility, but moral texture. Russell often plays men who do the job because the job must be done, an ethic of service that feels refreshing in an age of performance purely for applause. He is not a lecturer, he is a doer, and that doing, in film after film, becomes a quiet statement about reliability, about showing up for others, for teammates, for principle, even when applause is unlikely and outcomes uncertain. The camera likes such men, and audiences like them even more because such men answer a wish, that competence with courage might still be possible, that adulthood might still mean something, that a person might hold to his better nature even when the weather turns mean. His comedic sense, too, has always been decisive. Not broad for its own sake, but precise in its deployment. He knows the difference between tone and mood, and he treats humor as a tool to point the scene's energy where it needs to go. In roles that flirt with parody, he protects sincerity. In roles that demand earnestness, he salts the edges with irony. The result is a performance style that feels like good conversation, responsive, playful, and anchored by listening. He listens to co-stars, letting their rhythm inform his own. He listens to the room, adjusting speed and volume like a musician calibrating a hall. That responsiveness turns sets into ensembles and films into worlds, because the screen, finally, is a chorus, and Russell sings in harmony even when he takes the melody. Across decades, he has built partnerships that deepen the work. Great directors gave him frames worthy of his restraint. Great collaborators returned the generosity he extends. He can lead and he can support. He can center a narrative, and he can be the gravity that shapes it around him. In later career chapters, this generosity has become more visible. The willingness to lend heavyweight credibility to genre films, to appear in ensembles where his steadiness steadies others, to be a grown-up in the room in the best possible way. There is no sense of panic in his choices, no whiff of chasing fashion. Instead, a sense of trust. Trust in craft, trust in audiences, trust that a good story told well will outlast noise. The range of his work is striking not because it advertises itself as range, but because it never feels forced. Family films, thrillers, science fiction, westerns, true-life sports dramas, pulpy car chase symphonies, wry send-ups. He approaches each with the same ethic: find the spine, honor it, and then build the body around it. He respects genre as a contract between storyteller and audience. Inside that contract, he looks for elasticity, places where he can stretch a moment, twist a familiar beat into a fresher shape, or underplay what others might punch. Audiences feel this respect. They can sense when an actor is in on the bargain, to entertain without condescension, to surprise without violating the terms, and so they return to him, film after film, the way one returns to a trusted brand of craftsmanship. The cut fits, the stitching holds, the material wears well. What persists across all of it is a kind of American handsomeness, not merely of face but of demeanor. He carries himself with unstudied competence, the posture of a man who has fixed things with his hands. He reads as practical even when the world around him is outrunning reality. He reads as honorable even when the plot turns everyone gray. In an on-screen landscape that sometimes mistakes cynicism for intelligence, he remains a realist, which is not the same as a pessimist. His characters believe problems can be solved, that people can be redeemed or at least protected, that a clear decision made with integrity matters even if the result isn't perfection. He brings a working person's ethics to a star's toolkit, and in doing so he blurs the line between celebrity and citizen in a way that comforts and inspires. Equally compelling is the through line of partnership in his life and work, a reminder that show business at its best is a communal act. He is often at his most luminous opposite a strong partner. He thrives in scenes that are tennis matches rather than lectures. The result is chemistry that doesn't masquerade as fireworks so much as glow, a shared oxygen that makes scenes breathe. He understands that movie star aura is not a solo performance. It is a negotiation with co-stars, with crews, with audiences. He gives to get, and what he gets he multiplies. That is why ensemble work suits him so naturally and why directors return to him. He is a force multiplier. If one listens closely, the rhythm of his career tells a story about persistence and reinvention without desperation. He did not discard his early strengths to chase newer fashions. He refined them, allowed them to age, trusted that grace can accompany grit into later years. The youthful glint became mature steadiness. The daredevil turned strategist. The swift runner became the captain who sees the whole field. In that evolution is a lesson for the profession. That longevity belongs to those who nourish craft, protect reputation, and keep curiosity bright. He does not seem bored by the work. He seems grateful, which in turn makes audiences grateful. Gratitude is visible on a face. It softens the jawline, lights the eyes, makes everything look a little more alive. Off-screen, he projects a grounded privacy that feels like a deliberate gift to the work. He has guarded the boundary between public persona and personal sanctum without weaponizing aloofness. There is not an air of mystery, so much as an insistence that the mystery belongs to the characters. That restraint pays dividends on set. When an actor does not turn every moment into self-display, the story can come forward. In a culture addicted to exposure, he has modeled a different posture. Do the job, go home, return when you have something. Worth doing again. The dignity of that rhythm shows in the performances. He looks rested by real life, fortified by it, uninterested in melting himself into the glare of fame for its own sake. One of the more striking elements of his legacy is what he has represented to younger audiences discovering older films, a bridge across time. A viewer who meets him first in a contemporary ensemble, then travels backward to the muscular inventiveness of his earlier work, recognizes the same core. A man who can command the screen with stillness, who can let silence act for him, who can turn a prop, a hat, a holster, a steering wheel, a hockey stick into an extension of character. That continuity reassures. It suggests that acting at the end of the day is not a new trick learned every decade, but an old promise kept stubbornly well. It is also impossible to discuss his appeal without acknowledging the smile. Quick, sideways, disarming. He uses it not as punctuation but as a subtext. It can be a dare, a deflection, a mercy. It can puncture pomposity or signal that the character has a plan he is not yet ready to reveal. It makes him particularly good at playing men who are clever without cruelty, who enjoy the game without turning it into humiliation for others. That distinction matters. It makes the audience complicit with the character's wit rather than observers of someone else's expense. When the smile disappears, stakes rise. When it reappears, relief follows. Such calibrations are not accidents. They are technique disguised as ease. In high-stakes set pieces, whether chases, standoffs, or showdowns, he remains legible. Legibility is a strange virtue to praise, but it is rare. The capacity to make action readable, to let the audience understand where bodies are in space, what the objective is, why this moment matters. He keeps his movements efficient. He does not scramble a scene with unnecessary flourish. He trusts the camera's proximity and the editor's rhythm, so the viewer never loses the plot to spectacle. Within that clarity, the heart can beat faster. A lesser performer tries to outshout the machinery. Russell partners with it. His dramatic turns outside of genre are equally impressive for their moderation. He declines the invitation to over-emote, preferring accumulation to explosion. He layers small choices, a softened voice here, a steadying breath there, until a moment lands, with the weight of something lived. Such performances respect the audience's intelligence. They presume we do not need to be told what to feel. We need to be allowed to feel it. When tears come, they feel earned. When triumph arrives, it feels like the product of effort rather than the entitlement of a protagonist. In the same way that a craftsman's table stands because joints are well made, his scenes stand because choices are well joined. A word, too, about voice, the grain of it, the pace. He often rides the lower middle register, where authority lives, but he is quick to lighten when a scene opens. He respects punctuation, lets lines finish, leaves space for a viewer's thought to catch up. He rarely rushes a beat that wants to breathe. The effect is calming. Even in panic, he speaks like someone who believes that being clear is part of being brave. This makes him persuasive as leaders, coaches, sheriffs, captains, figures the audience wants to follow because they sound like they know the way. When he speaks up, noise settles. When he whispers, the room leans in. If cinema is partly an archive of faces, of how a culture reads feeling on skin, then his face has become one of its trustworthy texts. Weathered just enough to catch light interestingly, friendly enough to invite identification, disciplined enough to imply control. It is a face that suggests wood grain rather than lacquer, a finish that honors wear. Late career close-ups do not flatter so much as dignify. They say this person has lived, this person knows things. The camera, which can be merciless to the insincere, is generous to him because he doesn't ask it to lie. There is a dimension of mentorship implicit in his example. Even without speechifying, he models a way to be a professional. Arrive knowing lines, be kind to crew, hit marks, protect the tone, don't panic the team, be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Younger colleagues finding themselves greedy for the quick rewards of exposure can look to Russell for a different timeline. Build something that will still hold when the current run of applause fades. His filmography reads like a blueprint for durability. Mix work that stretches with work that delights. Allow yourself to be both myth and man. Keep the pilot light of curiosity on. Audiences, for their part, have given him what every actor most covets and least can demand: trust. They will follow him into extreme scenarios because they believe he will not embarrass the story. That trust is not accidental. It is the natural byproduct of choices that respect the viewer. In an age of speed, he has been careful. In an age of noise, he has sought signal. In an age of branding, he has pursued character. Slowly, almost stealthily, he has carved out a legacy not of headlines, but of rewatchability. Of films one returns to not out of duty, but pleasure. To spend time again with an energy that steadies the nerves and reawakens the appetite for a good yarn well told. Consider the kinds of men he often embodies. Those who recognize danger early and refuse to cede ground. Those who protect their circle without turning defensive into cruel. Those who accept that a bad outcome honestly confronted might be nobler than a good outcome dishonestly achieved. In darker works, he never looks infatuated with darkness. He looks interested in truth. In lighter works, he never seems embarrassed by joy, he seems grateful for it. That balance between appetite and discipline gives his career its particular shine. He looks like someone who enjoys doing the thing and also enjoys doing it right. And there is romance, too. Written not only in love stories, but in the romance of mastery itself. A person who can handle a vehicle on loose gravel, who can sit a saddle like it belongs to him, who can move through a frame with proprioceptive intelligence. Cameras notice bodies that know where they are. He has always granted the lens that courtesy. When he runs as though chased. When he fights as though he means to win but not to show. When he rests in character. These are subtleties, but they aggregate. They make worlds believable because the people in them behave as though the stakes are real. The cultural footprint of his signature roles cannot be separated from the deeper contribution, a renewal of old American archetypes for modern sensibility. The gunslinger with a conscience, the lawman with a sense of humor, the survivor who keeps his humanity intact, the coach who turns preparation into belief. These types existed before him, but he restored clarity to their outlines without sanding away complexity. He reminded us that virtue can be charismatic, that duty can be interesting, that competence presented with a wink can be sexy. In doing so, he conserved an inheritance of screen mythology while allowing it to breathe in contemporary air. One imagines the industry as a long corridor of rooms: comedy, action, drama, thriller, western, science fiction. Russell is one of the few who can move from door to door without changing shoes. He adapts without surrendering identity. It is not that he becomes unrecognizable. It is that he knows which aspects of himself to foreground and which spaces. In a western, he carries dust and judgment. In a thriller, alertness and economy. In a comedy, timing and temperature. He does not haul the whole toolbox to each job. He picks the right tools and keeps the rest tidy. That discretion is elegance. There are moments in his films, brief, easily missed, when he looks at another character with a kind of resting compassion. It can be after a scuffle, before a speech, on hearing bad news. In that look is an ethic. People are people, not plot furniture. He seems to take seriously the interiority of the fictional lives around him. Perhaps that is why his antagonists feel bigger in his presence, and his allies feel safer. He dignifies them by seeing them, and because he sees them, we see them. That is a generous way to wield stardom, not as a light that blinds others, but as a sun that gives them a place to orbit brightly. In the quieter passages of his later work, a new note enters. The serenity of a man at home in his craft and at peace with the audience's judgment. There is no flinch when the camera comes close. There is an invitation. The lines at the corners of the eyes speak more now, so the mouth can speak less. The body moves a touch slower, but with surer aim. He looks like someone who has learned which gestures matter and which can be spared. That editorial wisdom is, in itself, moving. To watch an artist become precise not only in the mechanics of performance, but in the distribution of attention and energy. It models aging not as diminishment, but refinement. Across interviews and profiles over the years, A.I. consistent picture emerges of a person who honors the blue-collar backbone of this glamorous trade. He appears to enjoy the company of crew, to understand the costs of a reset, to value efficiency not as a tyrant, but as a kindness to all involved. Sets, after all, are ecosystems of logistics and stress. A calm lead is a gift. Stories from collaborators often carry the same refrain: he's prepared, he's on time, he's game. These are not small virtues. They are the soil in which excellence grows. Stars endowed with those habits are the ones directors call again, the ones studios trust, the ones audiences end up feeling they know. Not because the private person is exposed, but because the professional person is consistent. In thinking about legacy, it is tempting to recite a list of roles, to assemble a monument of titles and numbers, but the more telling measure is experiential. What was it like to watch these films when they arrived, and what is it like to watch them now? The answer in his case is gratifying. The energy holds. The work remains watchable not only because it captures its era, but because it refuses to be trapped in it. He made choices that aged well, humor that is not cruel, masculinity that is not brittle, authority that is not absolute, rebellion that is not childish. In these balances lies durability. For those who discover him late and then move backward through time, there is a pleasure in recognizing how early the core qualities were in place: the relaxed intensity, the physical competence, the gentle irony, the capacity to carry a film while letting others shine. For those who have traveled alongside his career in real time, there is the pleasure of companionship. He has been there, dependable on Friday nights when the world felt loud, on Sundays, when the heart wanted comfort, in midweek when one needed a reminder that stories are good company. That companionship is not sentimental. It is the essence of why movie stars matter. They are not friends, but they are familiar. They are not family, but they feel like part of the household repertoire of feelings and phrases. He has earned that place on the shelf, a word on courage which in acting is sometimes misunderstood. It is not the courage to be extreme. It is the courage to be simple in close-up. When the lens asks for truth, to give truth rather than tricks is brave. Russell has given that truth again and again, in contexts flashy and plain, in the thunder of spectacle and the quiet of a room. He trusts that audiences are hungry for humanity. In times when the culture feels anxious, performers who can radiate steadiness are balm. He is one of them. The screen brightens at his entrance not only because of fame, but because of a signal sent. It's all right, we're in capable hands. There are certain lines across his filmography, snatches of dialogue turned into fan lore, that endure because of how he delivers them, with a tempo that suggests both confidence and play. He makes quotable lines feel born, not manufactured. This is a matter of breath, consonant, vowel, eye, and shoulder, the thousand small things that convert ink to speech. He has the artisan's patience for those thousand things, and it shows. Scenes that might have been merely functional acquire aftertaste. Scenes that could have flown away on bravado grow roots. Another constant is the way he moves through space. Sets are architectures of imaginary consequence. They need inhabitants who can persuade us that corners matter, that doors lead somewhere, that a street has history. Russell is a respectful inhabitant. He does not float. He uses space the way a seasoned driver uses a familiar road, aware of what the vehicle can do, aware of the limits, aware of the style that makes the ride enjoyable for passengers. In the choreography of action, he is deft. In the geometry of stillness, he is elegant. The result is spatial storytelling that clarifies rather than confuses. In roles where mentorship is explicit, a coach, a leader, he makes authority aspirational rather than authoritarian. He asks for effort, demands preparation, celebrates discipline, but keeps the door open to heart. He knows that people rise to standards when they feel seen, and he lets his characters see others. When the moment of decision comes, game on the line, lives at stake, he does not bellow to inflate himself. He speaks to enlarge the room's courage. That distinction is dramatic catnip. Audiences want to be rallied, not bullied. He embodies that difference. As time has added layers to his presence, the lens has found more to read. Lines on the face become notation. Pauses become chords. He now wears roles with the confident ease of a well-tailored coat. The fit is not coincidence, but the product of a lifetime of measurements, mistakes included. If cinema grants its veteran saints a kind of halo, his is composed of steadiness and humor rather than solemnity. He never appears to ask audiences to genuflect. He invites them to sit back and enjoy. That refusal to demand reverence, ironically, invites it. Respect collects where it is not begged. One could argue that his great theme is competence under pressure, made human by empathy and lit by wit. He is the opposite of chaos, the figure who imposes calm by being prepared, who imposes rhythm by being rhythmic. Whether the story is a siege or a chase, a mystery or a mission, the mood clarifies when he is on screen. This is a service to narrative clarity and a gift to viewers. In a jittery age, clarity is luxury. He accords it. The power of his star image finally rests on a straightforward promise, entertainment with integrity. Not the grandstanding nobility of sermon, but the humble nobility of craftsmanship. He has rarely seemed bored, rarely seemed to regard the audience as a burden, rarely treated the gig as a mere platform for self. Instead, film after film, he has shown up ready to make the story better because he is in it. That is why his name, on a poster, still generates a particular expectation, not of novelty for novelty's sake, but of satisfaction. The meal will be well cooked. The service will be attentive. The evening will be worth it. If we speak of legacy, let it be said plainly. Kurt Russell is an artist of enduring charm and durable craft, a lodestar of American screen storytelling whose work has given generations a reliable measure of what movie stardom can be when it is yoked to discipline, generosity, and joy. He has made us laugh without contempt, thrill without cynicism, feel without manipulation. He has played rebels who still believed in responsibility, leaders who still believed in humility, survivors who still believed in mercy. He has elevated genre without shaming it, dignified spectacle without airbrushing it, and walked the narrow, noble path between myth and man. The affection audiences carry for him is not a mystery. It is earned the simple way, by doing good work, often over a long time with good humor. In an industry of peaks and vanishing points, he built a plateau where viewers can reliably return. There we find a voice we recognize, a stance we trust, eyes that can still flash mischief, hands that still look capable. We find stories that stand up years later because they were built on the sturdier timbers of craft and character. And we find in the gathered weight of his filmography a reminder that excellence is not a trick. It is a life of attention. So let this be a living tribute, a salute offered while the lights are still warm and the reels still turning. Kurt Russell, a master of the unforced moment and the memorable line, a keeper of genre's best traditions and a companion to audiences through decades of change. He is, in the best sense, what the movies promised us once upon a time and still can promise when they are in honest hands. A good time, well told, by someone who knows how to tell it. And if the measure of a star is whether the world feels a little steadier, a little braver, a little more generous when he appears, then he has met that measure with room to spare, again and again, scene after scene, year after year.